introducing our guest. Our guest is our beautiful guest. If you can see her face, our beautiful guest is Mrs. Tomisin Balogun. She's also known as the Joy Merchant. She's an emotional wellness and personal transformation guide. She is the author of Purposeful Pain, a masterpiece for finding tool for rising in the midst of pain and embracing purpose and joy. She helps women heal from traumatic experiences so they can experience wholesome transformation and joy. She loves the Lord and she is the founder of Healing Hangout with Jesus, Scripture Lovers Network, as well as Joy Mission Global. She is married and blessed with three beautiful kids to the glory of God. You're welcome, Ma.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here with you. Thank you.
In the comment section. Let's make her feel welcome. Yeah, welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank you so much for having me.
for this evening. So I'm going to start like this. I've been following your journey for a while, I think some years now.
Oh, really?
And yeah,
Interesting.
from being vocal about healing to helping others as well. So can you just share your personal transformation from being at the point of wanting to get healed to also helping people get healed?
Oh, okay. Thank you. So, yeah, I experienced, a traumatic event in my own life, and, how I felt in that season of my life, or the things that happened to me in that season of my life, and the different emotions, the dark place I was like very serious. And eventually when I found healing, and I attended a lot of support groups and all of that. Eventually when I found healing, when I eventually healed, I found out that sharing my journey was also like a very important part of my healing journey. Like it kind of crowns it up, and the fact that I'd always known that I was an encourager. Like everything I did growing up was always like encouraging people and all of that, but I didn't. It felt like that experience just kind of kick-started that journey for me to say, you know what, you have to like hone this, this gift that you've been given. The Bible talks about people who have the gift of encouragement. I didn't know that it was a gift. Initially, I didn't know that it was a gift, but I always knew that when people talk to me, like they kind of felt relieved and all of that. Like since growing up, it has always been like that. So that experience just sort of crowned it for me, and I just wanted to do it more and just help people. And because of how the truth that I knew that helped me in that season of my life kind of propelled me to be able to go ahead to help other people. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I love the fact that your experience was able to birth purpose. So beyond you just walking through your experience and feeling the pain and all of that, you're also able to discover purpose. And when you're talking, you made mention of joining support group to actually heal. But aside for joining support group, were there other personal things that you did during that period that helped you heal?
Oh, absolutely. And of course, that was what birthed the book. Like I shared everything that I did in my book, Purposeful Pain. So apart from joining support groups, there's this saying that they always say that healing takes time. Healing takes time, or time heals. Actually, time is not the only thing that heals. Actually, what actually heals is truth. It is truth that heals. It is the knowledge that you have on how, on how to navigate that dark season of your life, or that traumatic experience. It is the truth that the knowledge that you have that will help you, to guide you in that season. If you're going through a difficult season and you don't know anything about it, you don't know how to, maybe find a professional help, seek support from a professional, support groups, opening up to friends, sharing what is, wrong with you and all of that. If you don't do all that, then you might that's why you see many people, you see that they are depressed, they are like going dark, going down into that dark place because they don't know what to do, they don't know how to navigate it. So apart from joining support groups, I invested in a lot of knowledge, to find out, how do I get out of this experience. And of course, I'm a Christian, I'm a child of God. The knowledge of God's word, knowing that I'm not alone in this season of my life, knowing that God is with me, knowing that the Holy Spirit is by my side, comforting me every time. All those things really helped me. And of course, opening up, sharing, finding someone who has gone through, what I went through, and opening up and say, are you dealing with this? There's just this contentment, or there's just this feeling of, that I'm not alone. When you find someone who has gone through what you have gone through, when you can speak to someone who has experienced something that you've experienced. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote that book, because I want women, I want people to identify, with me. I want to identify with people. I want someone to read my book. I want someone to hear me speak and feel like, I'm not alone. It's just soothing to know that you are not alone on this journey. So those were some of the things that I did.
Thank you. So one point that you said that I completely resonate is the fact that you're able to draw strength from the Holy Spirit. So apart from the fact that you are seeking knowledge, trying to get out of the situation, you knew that also you recognized the place of God in that situation. And you didn't, in fact, God knew that this was going to happen to me, then I should not have a conversation with him and all of that. You still went ahead to actually draw strength from the Holy Spirit. And it's actually a good one, because most times when life happens, I think that's the best time to be closer to God, actually, because He's the only one that can heal us completely. Definitely. So I would also ask, we have a number of people that are hurting. And we know that people have different responses to trauma. So people are open to it about it, rather. They want to talk about how they feel per time. But some people are withdrawn. How do people really help people who are going through traumatic experiences? How do they help them find happiness? Because sometimes people might try to be careful about approaching it because they don't want to ignite something again in the first place. So can people offer genuine help?
Okay, so you can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped. So you can't force yourself on anyone. So when someone is going through, for example, grief, there are different types of emotional trauma. Grief, childhood trauma, loss of something, medical trauma. There are different types, So the first thing to do is to ask the person, how can I support you in this season of your life? What are the things that you would require of me? Some people want to talk, like you said. Some people want to just be in their space. Some people want to go out. Some people want to, go to therapy. Some people want to, and by the way, therapy is what everyone, should embrace. But I'm just saying how people want to be supported in every season is different, because the way we respond to trauma is different. The way we respond to something that happened to us is very different. So the first thing is to ask the person, how can I support you? Do you want me to bring, some food? Do you want me to go do some shopping for you? Do you want me to not to bother you? How is the best way for me to support you right now? And if it's someone that is withdrawn, like you said, that doesn't even want to talk, doesn't even want to interact, you can ask just like I said, asking is so important. You can ask, would you like to talk to a professional, and if the person is willing, you can, pay for a coaching session or a therapy session for the person. There will always be something that person, would like, and you can use that thing to sort of be like the gateway into that person's heart. So, some people like to, travel. Some people like to go for arts. They love arts. They like to draw. They like to paint. There are different things that people like. Some people like to dance. Based on that particular person, that thing that they love can be like that first thing that you can use to get into their heart, whilst you now begin to offer support to them.
All right, thank you, Ma. If you are on this live session and you have any question, please do well to drop it in the comment section so that our guests can answer. So I love the fact that while you are trying to, it's also important that the person you want to help is willing to accept the help. So you need to take out before even trying to offer help. And also, I would love to add that when people are moving on from grief, some people are in the position whereby they feel they have this self blame, especially when you are mourning the death of a loved one. Sometimes you feel that, oh, maybe I've not been there enough for the person, and you just start blaming yourself in one way or the other. So the question is, how do we address that? How do we address that feeling? The feeling of, I think, too soon to move on.
Okay, so one of the most important things, in healing from emotional trauma and all of that is self-compassion. Like, you have to be compassionate to yourself. Like, you didn't, even if you caused the death of the person, you have to still be compassionate to yourself, because it's from self-compassion that you'll be able to see that situation in a different light. If you keep blaming yourself, you keep, and that's why they say healing, to do the healing work, it's a lot of work. You have to like be intentional about being compassionate to yourself, to say, okay, I would have tried, I would have wanted to be, available for this person more than this. I remember when my grandmother passed, I really wanted, there was a time, she called me and she was saying, she wished that I would have been calling her more, And when she said that, I felt like, oh, okay. I apologized to her, and, I started calling her, but I didn't do it so well. And eventually she passed. So that guilt came, actually. And it was one of the things I wrote in, I wrote down in, what tributes, like to say, I wish I called you more, much more than you wanted, you get. So yeah, but I acknowledged that, and that's very important. You have to acknowledge the fact that, okay, you didn't do well in this situation. Like, I should have called, for example, in my own case, I should have called my grandmother more when she was alive, and now she has passed. But even at that, I acknowledge it, and I'm like, no, I should have done better. Acknowledging that, knowing, and accepting responsibility for that, then moving on to self-compassion, to say, okay, I didn't do this well, but I have to have compassion on myself, to say I will do better to someone else next time, because there is nothing you can do about the person who has passed. If you continue to blame yourself, you eventually find yourself in another place that you don't want to, and you don't want to be in that place. So self-compassion is very important. Have compassion on yourself, that yes, you should have done better, but you didn't do better, and you have to move on. So having compassion on yourself will help you, to move on from that situation. I hope I answered the question.
That's that. As coach, this is a quite sensitive question. How long is too long to grieve? Like, if you are actually working someone that process, how long is too long for somebody to grieve?
Yeah, you can grieve for 2 months, and you can grieve the whole of your life. There is no particular number of years or number of days that is stipulated that you have to grieve between this period. No, I think the question should be, how are you dealing with that grief? When it comes, what are you growing in the knowledge of dealing with that grief? Are you doing better in dealing with that grief? Because, for example, if someone loses their mom in their prime, for example, if somebody that lost their mom like when they were really young, you will like different things will always happen that will make you to think about. You can't forget. You get, so it will always come up. So the question is, how are you dealing with that grief when it comes, when you feel that overwhelming emotion about missing her, missing everything that she did? How are you growing in that knowledge? How are you dealing with it? Is it getting better? This year when you thought about it, were you like feeling hungry? You were cranky, you were irritated, you didn't want to speak to anyone. And this year, were you able to sort of calm yourself down and regulate yourself when you thought about her? So the question is, how are you actually growing in dealing with that grief? So there's no number of years or number. You can grieve forever, because it depends on your relationship with the person that you lost. You get, and it doesn't even have to be someone. It might be a job that you lost. You get, and for example, if it was a job that was paying like really well and you lost that opportunity, you lost that job, you would always remember, especially if you don't get another job like that again, you always, oh my God, I wish that something didn't happen and I didn't have to lose this job. I wish that you would always think about it. But how are you dealing with it when you think about it? That's the most important. Thank you.
It's about a growth in that process. Because I know you don't have much time, so I'll just go to the final question. What would you have for somebody who is in the process of healing from a traumatic experience? How can they find genuine happiness and purpose in that situation?
Okay, so like I said earlier, healing is not what's the word now? There is no stipulated amount of time that you cannot legislate like your healing time. Healing is different for different people. So healing is not linear. There is no do this and do this and do this. Healing is personal to each person. So we can just have like general coping strategies, different things that we can do generally, but per person, how we heal is very, very different. So, but I'll just speak to like generally the things that you can do, and those are some of the things I've even spoken about. Number one, accept. Accept. I love that you asked that question. Some people are even traumatized and they don't even know. Like it's already like so really woven into their being that they don't even know that they are traumatized. Like you see, I was giving a comment on somebody's post. It was a comedy of all these secretaries, in institutions, in universities, how, or secondary schools or whatever, how they're always cranky. They're like, get out of my office. They're always very irritable. And I comment and I'm like, these women were heavily traumatized. Yes, it is trauma that makes you are constantly irritable. You are different things. You are constantly cranky. Like you don't even want to speak to anyone. You're always cranky. You're always angry. You're always, that is a result of trauma. But because we don't even know, like we're already like used to it, like trauma can be so bad that it now affects like your being, like the way you react. You now start to say, this is how I am. I've always been like this. But no, something changed. Something changed at a particular point of your life. So the work is now to trace it back to as far back as whatever it is, that what actually happened that made me to become like this? What actually happened that made me become like this? Trauma is anything that changes the way you see life, the way you see yourself, the way you see God, the way you see people. So going back to how far did this happen? What changed that made me to become like this? So it can actually become like very woven into our existence that we don't even know about. And that's another discussion for another day. Identifying that you are traumatized, identifying emotional trauma. I'll just speak to how someone who is already on that healing journey, how can they move on. So yeah, accepting that it happened, very important. Name it. I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling embarrassed, I'm feeling depressed. Name whatever it is, name it, feel it, but don't stay there. You get? So accepting that experience, accepting that issue, accepting it, and saying that yes, this happened to me is very, very important. When you accept that it happened, then you can now start to talk about moving on from this situation. Then very importantly, to self-care. I already spoke about self-compassion. Having taking care of yourself, like being compassionate about yourself. What are those things that you love to do in that season? Do you love to go out? Do you love to paint? Do you love to dance? Do you love to whatever it is that you love to do? It's very important for you to take care of yourself in that season, even much more than you used to do before. So take care of yourself, practice self-care. Very, very important. Dancing. Trauma is a very deep topic, ranges from a person to person. Yeah, some people may not even recover from it. Yeah, because it's already become like their being, like that's who they are. They don't even recognize it. You get? So that's it. So practicing self-care, very, very important. Self-compassion, having a support system, someone it might be family, a friend, someone you can always speak with, and just that there are different support groups that you can join. Just having that support system in that season, very, very important. And most importantly, professional help. If you feel like you don't have a support system, you don't have a friend that you can speak to, therapy is very important. Therapy is the way in Africa, or is in Nigeria, the way we what's the word now? The way we stigmatize therapy, it looks as if like people feel like no, if you're having scon, that's when you should go to therapy, which is very wrong. Even as Christians, most of us we don't want to talk about therapy. We don't want to, no. But it's good to pray. It's good to have faith and all of that. They always say that prayer is a weapon, but therapy is a strategy. Like you need to be able to. You need someone to help you to process your emotions. Why am I behaving the way I'm behaving? What happened that changed me this way? Processing. That's what therapy is. Just processing your emotions. Processing everything that is going on with you, your behaviors, how your emotions is affecting your behavior. That's therapy. And doing it with a professional person, so someone who is trained, who has the tools and the resources to help you to navigate that journey. That's therapy. So embrace therapy, very, very important. So those are some of the things that I can speak to with regards to someone going through that healing journey. And don't legislate your healing. Healing is not linear. It's not, you can't say it's personal, based on yourself, your preferences, your life, and everything. That's why therapy is good, because it's going to be customized to you. The things you have a hand holding from a professional that can help you navigate that journey. Thank you.
So aside from the fact that you might have to go spiritual, pray, and do other things, it's also important that you embrace the therapeutic aspect of it. Goodness based therapy. I just know that one of these days we'll be able to have a broader conversation on the role of therapy in our society today. And also, the reality is very, very important. You don't judge people that people might be looking all bubbly and all of that, and they are going through a lot, a lot. Thank you so much, Ma, for this session. In the absence of any question, we'll be rounding off soon. However, before we round up, do you have personal resources that people can actually read or courses that people can take that can help them on this journey of healing?
Wow, there are so many resources. Of course, my book, Purposeful Pain, is a good resource, to help you, on that journey. You can check my page for it. There is The Soul Fast by Dr. Cindy Trim. There are different other resources that you can go on YouTube and just check. Also, one of my mentors, Dr. Anita Phillips, you can check. She has a book now, The Garden Within. Very powerful book. You can check it out. So there are different resources that you can actually lay your hands on. Even free books that you can read, even on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel as well where I talk about, your emotions and emotional wellness and all of that. Yeah, so it's good.
Your YouTube channel, what's the name?
Tomisin Balogun, my name at Tomisin Balogun.
Right, thank you so much. So you can do well to follow her on Instagram at Tomisin Balogun. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Tomisin Balogun. And if you want to have a better understanding of how to transition from pain to purpose, so you can buy a book, yes. So you can go to our Instagram page, click on the buy, to be able to buy our book from there. Thank you very much for joining this session. Thank you for honoring our invitation. Personally, I learned the importance of therapy. So we know that we are in a society that stereotypes therapy a bit. So when you are thinking of therapy, you are thinking of an in-depth problem that you want to go and solve. But it's also important that sometimes you need therapy to weather some situation. Yeah.
Okay.
We can't talk about trauma online without talking about people who need it. What's the end result for people who have been through trauma?
Yeah. Honestly, that's a question for 70% of Nigerians are traumatized. Like the system, everything. Like where do you even start? So, and therapy is very expensive. That's another thing. Finding a therapy, you are going to pay through your nose, if not for people like us, like this, that do some form of like mini therapy and all of that for free and all of that. So yeah, so there is an organization, for example, the Virtual Soul Clinic. I'm like one of the mental health coaches on that platform. They offer like 15 minutes, not therapy anyway, but like mental health support, like mental health first aid for people for free. I think like organizations like the Virtual Soul Clinic we should have a lot of them where people can just like walk in and just speak to someone. I think like the first level is actually that stigmatization of therapy and speaking to counselors and everything in Nigeria. Like, let's first of all eliminate it. Like, and of course, I spoke about identifying trauma. People don't even know that they are traumatized. People don't even know the reason why they behave. So it's like it's a big. That's why I said it's a conversation for the board levels. Like, we need to start thinking, having strategy sessions about how do we even, because we're talking about SDGs and all of that. We want to like make the world a happier place, a saner place, a saner climate and all of that. So we need to start talking about how do we democratize therapy, how do we democratize counseling, where people can like have it like for free, have it available for free. So that's like a big question.
To create more awareness about mental health. so that people are more open to talk about it. Because the thing is, sometimes people do not talk. People do not talk. I love the fact that you talked about stigmatization. We need to take off the stigma attached to mental health issue and all of that, and embrace people talking about it in our society. I think that's what.
Yeah.
Said she learned that healing is not just about time, it is about having the right knowledge. Yes, so beyond the time and saying I'm healing and healing, it's also important that you have the right knowledge that will help you. You have international organizations that we in the mental health of Nigerians, because I understand the aspect of funding also. It's actually a quite expensive sector to fund. So I just hope that we are able to get things right, we're able to come up with strategies that will work for us in Nigeria. Because I think it's from conversations like this that we're able to draw more awareness and strategies on how to work things out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining.